Welcome back, guys. Day two here. We got a twofer this week of recordings. Peter, it looks like you're back at home.
Yeah, back for another session, another day, another podcast, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Lovely.
Dylan, I'm liking the threads. I haven't seen one of those in a
Retro,
while.
stable, new era, high quality sweatshirt here. Good purchase, Doug.
That's some vintage stuff there. What do you think that's going for on the market right now? More than the MGA or less than the MGA?
Over under probably. I'm gonna go slightly under. Slightly.
Yeah. That's fair. Peter, you've brought another great guest to the table. Our first, I think, when we did the recording yesterday, I said international, and I realized how U.S. centric that is because it's not international to him. And Peter, you're like, you guys are international. What are you talking about? Our first non-states based MGA.
Well, we did have some great guests from Canada that I was thinking about. So I guess.
Oh wow, Doug.
Yeah,
I guess unless you're describing them as a 51st state, which some people are.
That's a real Trump move there. Sorry about that. You know what? It's because they're so good at disguising their abouts that it was really hard for me to not think of them as being in the U.S. So,
there were a couple of sorries though. I did catch those.
Sorry. Hey. Yeah. Okay. All right. You know what? Maybe we gotta cut all of this. You gotta cut all of this, guys. Let's start over. No.
It's set in stone now. But the good thing is, the great thing about Justin, who is our guest today, is, like you said, it's a completely different perspective. It's someone in Africa, in South Africa, so completely non-North American focus today, which I think will be really interesting for a number of topics. I know Dylan's really keen to get into what regulation looks like in some of these places, and South Africa is an interesting one for that. There's lots of different rules, particularly for MGAs compared to what there are in the US. But really, I wanted Justin on this podcast because I first met him when I was working for Tokyo Marine, and we were on the capacity side. We did an amazing roadshow with their team. I've never, still to this day, have not met an MGA with the energy, the passion, the brand, the growth that they managed to achieve, and it's credit to them and their people. So I just wanted to get Justin on to give inspiration, really, which I'm sure he will do, to everyone who's out there trying to build an MGA brand, trying to grow different product lines, trying to create some really special broker relationships. So there'd be a lot to ask, a lot to take in, and I'm sure a lot of fun in this episode as well, because Justin's a great guy for that.
Nice. It sounds like maybe the four of us need to get together at the pub sometime in the near future then as well.
Absolutely, yeah.
Sounds lovely.
All right. Well, let's bring Justin on.
Yeah. Hi everyone. Here we are with another Age of the MGA. Welcome Justin Naylor from iTOO, all the way from South Africa to join us today, which is amazing.
Exciting.
Justin, so I was telling the guys, I first met Justin a few years ago. We had an amazing couple of visits to South Africa with the team, and we did a couple of road shows, didn't we, around the country, and met some of your amazing staff, brokers, customers. And I said to Dylan and Doug when we started this, could not wait to get Justin on to speak about, one, building an amazing brand, but also all the challenges and opportunities that exist in the South African market and beyond. So Justin, we'd love to hear, welcome. We'd love to hear from you, one, about you as a person, and then tell us all about iTOO as an MGA.
Perfect. Peter and Dylan and Doug, thank you very much for having me on your show. I'm really excited to be having this conversation. I, for one, am serious about and seriously passionate about MGAs and the MGA that I'm running and lucky enough to run, and also about the specialty market. So I've got lots of ideas and thoughts, and really keen to be having an informal conversation about my experiences in running a very successful MGA in the African market. So great to be on the show, and thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you for coming on.
Excellent. So do you want to give us, because a lot of our viewers are either going to be UK or US based. I'd love to get an idea of what your company does. Just the quick 1 minute. What do you do, and who are your customers?
Perfect. So iTOO as a business was founded back in 2017 as an MGA. We're talking MGAs here. And we started out as a partner of the Hollard Group, which is one of the large insurers in the African market. And we started out as an MGA partner, focusing on specialty lines of business. I spent the first 15 years of my career working in a large corporate insurer. So I've had the best of experience of working in a large corporate and successful insurer. And the last 7 years, I've been in the specialty space, running iTOO as an MGA. So I've had a good career, and I've seen a little bit of the best of both worlds. And iTOO, we are based in Johannesburg in South Africa. We have a footprint, and we trade in about 9 different countries in Africa. So we cover Southern and East Africa, and we focused on a number of specialty lines. We write about over 20 different specialty lines, ranging from general liability, professional indemnity, medical malpractice. Cyber is a big growing line of ours. Renewable energy is a very exciting line of business in Africa. We also do exciting things like kidnap and ransom, which is where I first met Peter. We started Kidnap and Ransom together with Peter as my reinsurer and supporter. Events, liability and contingency, trade credit, fine art, specie. So we've just built out this business into focusing as an MGA, focusing on a number of different specialty lines of business. We're now trading in about 10 countries in Africa. We have a strong distribution base of about 1,000 brokers and agents in the South African market, and we're building our business into Africa. We've got about 200 people in our team, so we're becoming a fairly big business for an MGA and for the South African markets. And we've had a really successful journey. We've existed for 10 years. This year, in July this year, iTOO turns 10 years old as a business. So it's a really good time to be talking about our business. We've had an exciting journey. I shared some feedback with our team earlier this year, and we've done a 10x. So when we started our business, we started with a very small acquisition of a very small division of an insurer. And we've grown that business by 10 times, both in top line and bottom line. And in that time, we've expanded into Africa. We've been voted by a number of times by the broker organizations in South Africa as the favorite specialty MGA in the African market. And we've grown our business top and bottom line by 10 times in 10 years. So we're at a really interesting phase of, we've had this amazing startup journey, lots of learnings on the way. We've become the market leader in many of our lines in Africa, and we're at a phase where we're thinking the next 10 years, what's next? So it's a great time to be having this conversation with lots of learnings and lots of exciting thinking about the future of our business, and also lots of learnings about the pros and cons and all the successes and failures that go with starting an MGA and the journey that we've been on in 10 years, and we'll be thinking 10 years into the future.
Wow.
Well, that's incredibly exciting, and I can't wait to hear about the successes, but also a lot of the failures, because those are the moments we learn. So I'm excited to kind of poke there.
Yeah, we've had some impressive guests on, but I don't think just to say, like, Justin, this is you're topping the list right now. That's an impressive list of accolades. I will say, when you said Kidnap and Peter kind of in the same sentence there, I misheard at first kind of what had happened there, but now I got it. And Peter, maybe you need to get some Kidnap insurance the next time you're hanging out with Justin, just in case. You can get it through iTOO.
Very valuable insurance line to buy, I must say.
I would imagine, yeah. I'm not sure where to start. I got Dylan. I have plenty of regulation questions. Well, no, I know that you were interested in the compliance and regulation aspect. It's I think what I originally had Peter's quick synopsis on you guys, Justin. I was assuming you were just in South Africa, but that's not the case. You're actually quite broad already across more of the continent. Obviously, we have an understanding here in the U.S. of kind of this very complex regulatory system for 50 different states, but still kind of like a governing body that overlays them all. I'm curious about just the regulatory aspect of 8 or 9 different countries and how that works, what the similarities are. Maybe we could start there. And I have plenty of distribution questions. Dylan, you love the claims questions. Lots to dig into. But yeah, curious about just compliance and regulation and difficulty in kind of launching new products in new countries.
So great place to start, and good to be thinking about the US as a start. But maybe let me talk about the South African market first and some of the regulation of MGAs. In the South African market, we actually call them UMAs, underwriting managers. So one of the first things we see is MGAs are called different things and mean different things in different areas of the market. And we've had some learnings about trying to start up MGAs in Europe. We've started, successful MGAs in some African countries effectively. In the South African market, the regulation is pretty similar to the UK and Europe and US. So, an underwriting manager is pretty similar to an MGA. There is a difference in terms of the ability to trade direct. My sense is around the world, MGAs can trade direct with clients and through brokers. In the South African markets, we can only trade through brokers. But other than that, the MGA model is fairly similar to the global MGA model in South Africa, in that you would get a binding authority from a large insurer that backs you for a particular set of products. You'd get a binding commission, and you'd probably get a profit commission in the South African market. What's interesting in the African market is probably very similar to the US. There are 54 different countries in Africa, making up the continent in Africa. And the legislation in all of these countries is also different. So it's actually, the US market is a very good, similar analogy to Africa. What's interesting in Africa is many countries don't even recognize an MGA model in African countries. So that's been a big challenge and learning for us as a starting point. So we've had to adapt our different MGA models to the different African countries that we trade in. And I think I'll talk during this podcast about some of the different types of MGA model, because we've had lots of learnings about the pros and cons of different MGA models. But certainly in Africa, we've had to come up with different concepts. Certainly in Africa, there's legislation and more legislation that there needs to be a local license on the ground, a local insurance license. And we're lucky that with our insurance partner, Hollard, we have licenses on the ground in about 9 countries in Africa. So we have the licensing on the ground that is a big benefit to our model. And then you have to have, there's often regulation that there has to be local African insurance participation, and there are different rules and taxes in many of the countries. In many African countries, they don't yet formally recognize a standalone MGA. So we've actually had to position almost as a division or a franchise of Hollard with a brand name and then an internal reinsurance treaty as to how to do this. So we've had to innovate in terms of the model, and very much like the US, the legislation in every country in Africa is different. So that's been a big learning in Africa. We've also had some fairly clever learnings in how to adapt the model in the South African market to different ways of doing business.
In those countries where there's not the concept of an MGA, and you're building this division as kind of the workaround, is there thoughts of trying to work with the regulators to say this is a known concept in other countries and it works very well, and it might open up other opportunities, not just for iTOO, but maybe just for consumers and businesses. You should adopt this model, and we'd be interested in helping you push that forward. Do you think about those types of discussions, or are regulators ever interested in learning from you on that?
Yes, absolutely, we do. We found many of the regulators in African countries actually be fairly engaging, particularly when it comes to specialty lines of business. The exciting thing, if you look at the lines of business that iTOO is in, it's lines like renewable energy, cyber, D&O risk, renewable energy, drones and aviation. These are all new emerging risks around Africa. So African governments and regulators are really interested in these risks, and very open to engaging. So it's obviously time consuming and takes a lot of time for them to engage and understand. But definitely regulators in Africa are engaging and understanding and keen to build relationships with iTOO. And I think that's one of the value propositions that we have, is iTOO's model has been to put, through our insurance license partner, Hollard, we put our own people on the ground. And a very big, important part of our strategy is having iTOO people on the ground. And part of the idea is to build local skills and experiences and knowledge in country, pretty much like the US. I think you need people on ground in the state that understand the legislation, but also the different risk environments in different countries. And in doing that, we're starting to trade, and we're building up a really exciting business in Africa. And while we're doing that, we're engaging with the insurers and reinsurers and local regulations. So this is a long-term play, but certainly a very exciting journey for us in developing our model in Africa.
Yeah, it's good for MGAs, so people that are building MGAs now. I mean, this is US, but for Justin, your experience and having those discussions with regulators, they're very open, and a lot of times their email address, their contact info is right on this. In the US, the state legislature page. I'm sure in an African country, there's some type of contact information for them. Call them up, tell them what you're doing, try and build relationships with them, especially if it's out of the norm of, what's common. I think you can't start that relationship too early, and you can learn a lot from them. It's a free resource, right? Our taxes pay for these regulators, and they will engage with you, and often are happy to engage with you. And so take that opportunity.
Sure.
Great, certainly we'll do that. Thank you.
Oh, well, you're already doing it. I'm more giving what you're doing right. We're talking to the rest of our audience that they should be doing.
The other thing that I would say, one of the things that we're really keen to position ourselves is an African partner. We have a mission to be an epic partner in specialty risk. So I'd also say to anyone listening to this podcast, and hopefully it gets to some really exciting audiences around the US, UK, or Europe, people in MGAs and specialty lines. If you're looking to expand your business into Africa, we'd love to position iTOO as a partner for those businesses that says, we understand the legislation, we already have distribution on the ground. We're really keen to position ourselves as a partner in growing, other people's businesses in Africa as well. We're really well positioned to do that. A good example is how I started with Peter. When I first met him, he was a reinsurer focusing on kidnap and ransom insurance. Peter came out to South Africa. We showed him a good time. We took him for some golf. We drank some good South African wine, and we said, let's do this together. And we've started an amazing relationship that is still going 6 or 7 years later. And we're selling K&R in partnership with a really good reinsurer on the African continent. So I'd like to say to anyone that's listening, iTOO has got our doors open. We'd love to engage with anyone that wants to expand their offerings into Africa.
Yeah, I think that little snippet highlights what a tough job it is working in insurance, right? Going out to these countries, playing some golf, drinking some wine. Someone's got to do it, I guess.
And good weather as well. So great place to
very
visit.
Good weather.
Want to be in South Africa.
Still remember our swim in Devon.
Yeah, South African Commerce Board should give you a little money, Justin. For I think some companies should just be moving out, basing themselves in Joburg.
Yeah, I think there should be. I mean, there's lots of challenges in South Africa and Africa, of course, at the moment. Just economic growth, a lot of political uncertainty, like everywhere else in the world, but also an exciting time. And we see many of these challenges in the world, and particularly challenges on the African continent, as opportunities. And I think that's the exciting thing to be trading as an MGA in Africa. Everywhere you see a challenge, there's an opportunity. And I'm sure we'll talk through some of these challenges and opportunities as we get into the conversation on our brand and purpose and the way we're building our business.
So I would love to talk about some of these product launches, because I think what's interesting about MGAs in general, it's very much the iTOO story, is MGAs are coming in often with a new opportunity, or they're doing something that's already been done in a different way, an innovative style to it. You're talking a lot about, Justin, launching specialty products into a market, and often iTOO are some of the drivers for the very first time of these products coming into a market, into a country. How is that challenge of creating a new customer base, of educating brokers, of working with new partners to really sell solutions that haven't been previously bought in the market?
I mean, that's a really interesting question, and we could probably talk on it for the full hour, but I'll try and touch on some of my thoughts. I mean, I think the one thing to say about iTOO is that we've built, and this is an advantage that we have now compared to being a startup MGA, and I think we should talk about some of the challenges of being a startup MGA. But iTOO now We're a already established business. We've got scale, we've got profitability, we've got the resources. So we don't have the pressure of needing to launch a single product and get it to break even in the first year or first 2 years. We have the resources and the financial strength to spend a lot of time and investment in marketing and building these products. And absolutely, that's what it takes. It takes a lot of time, a lot of financial resources, and a lot of effort. I think we've been lucky with a lot of good creativity in how we build these brands. And many of these things have just been a success. I mean, cyber was a good example. Cyber insurance, we launched our cyber insurance, product offering, and we managed to recruit, I call him an IT nerd, and I think that's an interesting thing. We start all of our products having an expert, and I think that's the fundamental. In when you're starting something, you need to have an expert, and that needs to be an expert in this line of business. It needs to be someone that eats, sleeps, and breathes this business. They usually network in the community. They often have a following of the community, support from reinsurers, support from brokers. And I think that's a really key part is starting with an expert. And every line of business that we do go into, we make sure that we start with having an expert or a team of experts that is single-mindedly focusing on that product. So that's the first thing we do. And then we've been really good at building the market. And cyber was a good example. We started cyber 7 years ago, and for the first 4 or 5 years, we had a cyber team of 3 people that were out there 4 or 5 times a week, training brokers, marketing, selling, doing roadshows, doing presentations. And cyber was just a really slow start. And then all of a sudden, as we know, the world started to change, and cyber is currently our fastest growing line of business. And it's grown incredibly in the last 3 or 4 years. But the first 2-3 years was fairly tough. We had the same experience with renewable energy. We bought a small renewable energy MGA. We bought it in-house. And then in South Africa, we went through a challenge. We spent a lot of time and effort in putting together our reinsurance treaties, in marketing this business. And in South Africa, we had what's called load shedding, where there was challenges with the national power grid. There was a shortage of power. And all of a sudden, there was a massive investment in Africa and South Africa into renewable energy. And that's been a trend that's going around the world. A new trend, is drones. We're the market leader in South Africa and in Africa in drone insurance. And that's been a slow burn. It's been a long time of investment and marketing and having an expert. He's a pilot. He flies a drone. He's out there at every single drone conference, every training brokers explaining. And slowly we started to see the application of drones in mining, in security, in agriculture is starting to explode. And guess what? We're well positioned. So I think you can start some MGAs like we have in general liability or D&O or professional indemnity, medical malpractice. We've certainly started some in established lines of business. We get the right team, you get the right expert. It's an established market. Business flows, and it's with a good team, good service, good focus on the product, bit of marketing. The businesses come and come fairly easily. Not easy, nothing's easy, but it's flowed. And there are other lines of business where you have to seriously invest and grow the market. And I think what's good about the iTOO portfolio, we have a balance. We have a balance of some established kind of lines of business, and we have a couple of lines of business or MGAs where I like to say we're trading on the edge of new risk. And part of our positioning is iTOO. And I think the exciting part for MGAs is focusing on the new and innovative risks. We're trading on the edge of risk, new risks of the world. And that's the exciting part where there's new growth opportunities. But that's the part that does certainly take a lot of time and investment to build these lines of business.
I love it. So you were mentioning a lot about your team in that last answer, and earlier you mentioned approximately 200 people on the team. So what is that 200 people comprised of? Because that's in the States, one of the things that we really push on this show is maintaining a lean company, right? Especially for startups. You're in a little different position. Being a market leader in certain products, that's not who we're normally talking to. And I think that's what Doug was getting at earlier with that you win the award for the most successful person on the show, because it's hard to be a market leader. that's beyond just that's beyond startup, right? You might feel, after 10 years that you're starting to get to maturity, even though you're putting out new products, and that makes it something. Each time there's something new and a new challenge to deal with, but certainly I'd consider you a mature company after 10 years, and with this level of success, it's incredible. So I guess can you give us a breakdown of what that 200 employees looks like? How much of it's tech? How much of it's underwriters, support operations, claims? What do you have there?
Sure, and I think that's one of the most exciting journeys about an MGA. We like to say that we're a home of experts, and in every line of business we get into, we back an entrepreneurial expert that wants to set up a single line of business for an MGA effectively, and we're a home for these entrepreneurs and experts. And I think that for me, the big differentiator about an MGA is exactly that. It's lean, it's focused. These MGA entrepreneurial experts don't really care about title. They don't really care about corporate. They're not building a career path in a corporate. They want to go out and build something. And I think what makes these MGA and entrepreneurs exciting is that they're focused single-mindedly on the product, the service, or a mission. And that mission might be a new risk in the world or a new way of doing a particular risk. And I think that's the exciting thing about the MGA, is to keep that entrepreneurial focus of the expert and a small focused team having a focus on product, service, customer, and the mission. I think that mission is really the exciting thing, and we can talk a bit about that later in the conversation. And I think when you start an MGA, I think the first year of business is really challenging. That first startup stage is really tough. And we've actually built an accelerated team that is focused. When we get a new expert in or a new team in, we have an accelerated team that has all the resources needed to ensure the success of a startup MGA or partnership. And this team is there to support systems, processes, marketing strategy, underwriting strategy, reinsurance, people, finance. We've got a team that really supports growing MGAs and experts and entrepreneurs. And yes, we've become now a big, larger, mature business, and I like to call it the uncorporate phase, because yes, you're right, we're 200 people, we're more mature, but I think the biggest challenge that keeps me awake at night, or one of the biggest challenges, is how do we keep that entrepreneurial focus on our business? And I guess that's the secret. And how we've structured our business now is to keep the entrepreneurial experts focused on that mission of what they're out there to do, and focused on a single risk and single focus. And then we've built a support structure around those MGAs or those experts, so that they can focus on doing what they do best. And then we have a very solid, I call it an uncorporate structure around them. So we have, like a normal insurance company, we have a chief underwriting officer, we have a chief data officer, we have data scientists, we use the services of an actuary, we have a marketing team. Peter knows our marketing team. We have a really strong marketing team of 4 or 5 people. We have an HR team. We have a strong finance team. We obviously have a leadership team. But what we've tried to do is position all of that sort of support services to our business, making the MGA and the experts and the entrepreneurs really the heroes in our business and the face in our business. Of course, as well, claims is a big important part, and we've got a dedicated claims team to service all of the MGAs and special teams in our business. So I think that gives you. We've also got a sales team, and that's quite an interesting conversation to have. One of the things that we built when we started our business was a separate sales team that supports all of our MGAs, all of our specialty lines of business. So we have a distribution and sales team around the country and into Africa. So if we plug in or pull in a new partner or start up a new MGA, and Peter will know this from his days in dealing with us, we can say, right, we want to start a KNR MGA or KNR team. We bring in the experts. We've got an accelerated team that gives them support. We've got HR, we've got finance. The financials are done for them. Their recruitment and employment contracts are sorted for them. They've got people team support. They've got system support. And then guess what? They've got a distribution team that with a little bit of training can go out and start selling their product, at least introducing their product to the broker markets and into Africa. Yeah. So I think that gives you a bit of a sense how we've structured our team and our business.
Yeah, that constant renewal of entrepreneurial blood, right? You're giving that initiative, the new product initiative, over to that expert, that entrepreneur. There was I wrote about this on LinkedIn. Frank Slootman from Snowflake was talking about like the natural human state is not to drive, right? Not to push. We get comfortable, we have success, and then like we just kind of get on autopilot. Definitely, I think insurance is, it's easy to park yourself somewhere and kind of get used to what you're doing, and maybe become an expert in your vertical, and not have to have that drive anymore. So I think it's interesting seeing you evolve, right? Seeing your company have success, have maturity, but knowing that we need to keep figuring out how to have that entrepreneurial drive. And I love your approach to it by bringing new entrepreneurs in, right? Letting them kind of control that new product launch, and using that as the way to keep driving things forward.
Yeah, the thing I like as well, and I think it's a difficult. We always talk, don't we, a lot in this show about the persona of someone who's going to launch a successful MGA. I think there's this constant battle for MGAs between the technical knowledge, the being fundamentally understanding the detail of their policy, of the pricing science that goes into it, the market that they want to achieve, all of those things. Being able to do that really well, and being able to be a great salesman, marketeer, person who's going to go out and grow, they're two extremely opposites. There's a dichotomy of skills there. So the individual sales team, I think, is a great idea, because especially for iTOO, where in South Africa, where you have to sell via brokers from a regulatory perspective, forging those relationships, being someone who can drive growth for the experts has been, in my opinion, Justin, a great attribute to why iTOO has been so successful.
Absolutely agree. So the first and the most important hire is that expert. Some of them are good at marketing and selling and growing the business as well, but many of them we want to be focused on being that expert or focusing on that idea. And we believe in building, the sales and distribution and marketing ability around them. And that certainly for us has been, I think, a big part of our success.
Justin, you'd mentioned kind of this balance of a portfolio of kind of known needed products and maybe being at the bleeding edge of new risks. How do you even identify that? Or are you just kind of taking some bets, saying, hey, like somebody comes to us and says, I am the expert in this space, I have identified this potential trend, and you're like, great, maybe not, right? That might happen, and it seems like more than not, your bets are paying off. But like, how are you identifying, hey, this space is interesting to us? This isn't covered. Is that talking to your broker network? Is it just getting on the ground and learning a lot about a lot of different industries? Because the reason I'm asking this is I think we see people start MGAs in areas that are pretty crowded sometimes, and especially if it's more like in the U.S. in the admitted space. Whereas I think there are all of these gaps in coverage right now. There are new and emerging risks. I think it's just finding them and figuring out who the right partner is to build those products. So how do you guys go about that process? How are you identifying this?
So I think that's a really good question, and lots of sort of different segments to that answer. But I'll start by saying that we're really lucky as a business that we're privately owned. Majority of our business is privately and family owned. So we can take a little bit of a long-term view. If some things take longer, we're not under pressure for, quarterly returns, like a big corporate maybe, or monthly budgets. So of course we have budgets, we have goals, but we have some flexibility. We have the benefit of family ownership and being able to take a long-term view. We also have the backing of, Hollard, of a seriously good, strong and entrepreneurial, insurer themselves. So we've got good backing and support from them, probably partly because of our track record as well. And we started out, much like many MGAs do, in a traditional MGA. We were focusing on the casualty lines of business, and we started there, and we built a really successful business there. And I think that's the challenge for many MGAs. You start in a single line of business in a single market where you can do fairly well. And we got to the point where we became the market leader in many of these lines in South Africa. South Africa as an economy is much smaller than the US or Europe. So we started, once you're getting to being a market leader, and we did that very successfully and fairly quickly, you start to run out of road, and then you're under pressure to write the risks that you maybe shouldn't write. And that's when we started to think about how do we diversify. And we did a few things. I mean, we have actually established a partnership team now. So we have a team that is focused on building partnerships, putting our brand out there, like I did in the beginning of this conversation. So to anyone out there listening to this, we're a partner business. We're always looking for entrepreneurs, experts, global reinsurers, other MGAs around the world that are looking to distribute in Africa. We get partnership, and we want to partner with those people. And we've been putting that word out, and we found that it's been pretty successful in coming. People have been approaching us as a partner. And once we've done 3 or 4 of these partnership deals, and we've pioneered a number of different partnership models, we found that people are starting to approach us with new ideas and opportunities all the time. So we've built a reputation as being an epic partner, is what we like to say internally.
Can I pause you there for a second? Because I definitely want to talk about this partnership. You brought that up earlier. You brought it back up again. Yeah. So I think it's probably a really important thing. And I want to understand how companies can partner with you, what you're looking for. Also want to understand, I saw that you were at Hollard for an overlap with iTOO, and I understand you were talking about some partnership also from a corporate level. So are you a divisional spinoff of Hollard? And you'd mentioned obviously in certain markets you kind of have to work with the system that you're given and that you were partnering with them. But are you still a division of Hollard right now?
No, we're not. We're a separate entity. So we're a separate, legally we're an MGA, and I'll talk a bit more about some of our different models. So we're a separate entity, and that's really important for us, that we've got this independence and entrepreneurial ability as an independent business. But we were born out of the Hollard Group. Yes, we started by buying a division from Hollard, and we started with a small base in casualty. We really grew our businesses, independently, and that's how we started. So Hollard is a shareholder in the business, and the balance of our business is family owned. So we have this good balance of a long-term track record with Hollard, but also majority family owned business and independent entrepreneurial business. So that's how we started, and we're very much an independent entrepreneurial MGA, just like all of the MGAs that you would be talking about around the world. But we have a really long-term and good relationship with Hollard as our insurance partner. And maybe just before I get onto the different partnership models, because I think there's an interesting conversation there, we're actively now looking. So we have a partnership team. We have a research team that's looking at what are the new trends in insurance. We're looking at what's coming up, Lloyd's Lab and Lloyd's of London, and we're researching all the time. And we're looking at crypto wallet insurance and carbon credit insurance, and we have this whole list of ideas, and we actively have a team that goes out and researches them. And I think that's the important thing. We've built up a good ability to fairly quickly put together a business case, analyze whether it's successful, and if we think it's good, we're happy to give it a go, where we limit our risk and be prepared to fail, and we're prepared to fail fast. It's hard to do that in a single startup, but we've got to the stage where we can really explore, and we've got a dedicated team to go and look and explore and new ideas. And often we'll find a niche that we think is interesting, and we'll go and reach out to experts in this field and see how we can approach or work with them. So we're always looking at a combination of what are the trends out there and where are the next MGA opportunities, but we also put ourselves out there as a partner, and we're starting to get a lot of approaches. In the last few years, we've done a number of partnership deals. So I think to answer your question on partnership, I think that's where we've got a really unique value proposition as a business. So we bring to the table as a partner an established brand, and I think iTOO in the African market is a really established brand. We bring strong distribution, and distribution through 1,000 agents in South Africa and 9 countries in Africa, with people on the ground in Africa. We bring the backing of a seriously good and strong, well-known insurer in Africa. And we have access to licenses. We have licenses in 10 different countries, 9 or 10 different countries in Southern and East Africa. So we're out there looking, and we have different ways. I mean, I think one of the things that we've been good at, and we have a sell license in Guernsey at the moment. We're exploring different international licenses as well. So we actually, as a partner, we bring a lot to the table. So now we're out there looking for who's the next expert, small team, small MGA that we can acquire. We've done a few number of successful acquisitions, or who are the experts that are out there to start a business. And we're good at both startups. We're also good at acquisitions or partnerships in existing sort of MGAs or experts. And then we have a number of different partnership models. I mean, we think that the MGA model is a really exciting model, and we'll talk a bit more about that as well. I think it's really here to stay for a long time in the future, but we've pioneered different versions of the MGA model. So one of the things that we figured out is to start up a proper MGA, particularly in Europe or the US. It's a really risky start. It takes a long time to get to scale. I think that the binder fees or commissions that you're getting are fairly low. It's very difficult to negotiate high PCs or reasonable profit share when you're starting up. So to start up an MGA is a really difficult process unless you can scale fairly quickly. It takes a lot of capital and a lot of risk to start up. And there's this balance of trying to get someone out of a corporate or to start up. It's a difficult startup. So we've actually pioneered a franchise model where we can say, come and join us as an employee, but we've got a shareholders agreement. We'll give you equity in the business. We'll give you a profit share in terms of a franchise, and start up the business. Let's get it going. Low cost on our brand, on our payroll infrastructure, but with a true shareholders agreement. Let's get going. Let's get trading. And then we've got certain milestones. And as we get to a certain scale, then we can say, right, do you want a full traditional MGA model? We can offer that. We also have access to a sell license. If a partner wants to put capital in and earn their own profit share in a sell, we can offer that. And we can also offer distribution and effectively a franchise model in different African countries. We also, the iTOO model, I think, is fairly unique in that we actually put our own capital at risk. And I think that's one of the unique models that we've pioneered with our partners, Hollard, is we actually like to put our own capital at risk. So we actually trade in many ways like an insurance company. And I think that's an interesting concept. When we talk to reinsurance companies, we've got skin in the game, and we actually like to take underwriting risk. And what we found over time, in most MGAs, particularly in Europe and the US, the insurance company is actually making most of the underwriting profit. We've developed a very unique model where we can actually share in some of the underwriting profits, with our partner, our insurance partner, and with our entrepreneurial partners. So we've developed a range of models that we think are suitable from startup as a very light MGA model or franchise. We can offer a sell traditional MGA, or we can offer a unique model where once you've got scale and you've proven yourself, actually finding a way together to share in underwriting profits. We've developed, we think, quite an interesting range of models. And I think really what we found is that startup phase is crucial. Getting going, getting trading with light costs. In the South African market, if you were to go and start up an MGA from scratch on your own, it's probably going to take you 2 or 3 years and a lot of capital and risk to start up. And we found it's much easier to bring them in-house, support them with our infrastructure, and then once at the scale, we agree a variety of options as the business grows.
So it sounds a lot like you are, you have a variety of different options here, but one of those options is kind of an incubator model. Feels a little bit like Mission Underwriters. I don't know if Peter and Doug were getting that vibe here. Justin, I'm not sure if you're familiar with them.
Who's that?
What's that?
I missed that.
Mission Underwriters.
No, I haven't heard of them. I'll research them. Sounds interesting.
Yeah. They're a US-based company.
If you want to talk about a slightly different version, we can talk after this about binary risk as well, because slightly different version of that model.
Excellent company as well. So definitely check them out.
Dylan's excellent brainchild there. Justin, we're gonna run out of time. I got a lot of questions. Two areas though that I do want to make sure we focus on, and we got a claims expert here in Dylan, so I know he wants to get into some claims discussion. I always love talking about distribution. I think that's that's the lifeblood of any insurance success. Given the fact that you have this regulatory mandate to work with brokers, I think it's interesting. Even in the U.S., like technically, you still have to work through brokers. Like you can own the subsidiary, you can own the license, the agency, the MGA that Dylan and I had worked at. We had both a internal direct to consumer agency that we kind of ran the MGA through for a direct business, and then the MGA itself partnered with third party independent agents. But I'm curious, like how you guys think about distribution. Is it primarily we find really good broking partners and like try and build networks with them? Are there partnership approaches? Are there direct approaches? Is it a mixed bag? Like how are you thinking about distribution, and how do you experiment there?
Absolutely, that's a very exciting conversation for us right now. We are very traditional in terms of the South African market and our business model. 99% of our business now comes from traditional brokers, and we love our brokers, and they're the biggest part of our business. And most of the larger specialty business, let's be honest, it's most suited to coming through these brokers. So we do think that brokers forever will be the biggest part of our distribution. But what we are seeing in some of the specialty lines, digital affinity opportunities, we do think there's a really exciting opportunity there. It's challenging for us because in the South African market, MGAs can't trade direct with the public. So we actually are doing a lot of work now to invest in digital distribution and working with a number of different digital brokers. And we think there's a seriously good opportunity in affinity. For example, if you take something like personal line cyber, it's a product that is a very hard sell, low premiums, high volumes. It's not business that's suited to a broker selling policy by policy. We think this business is suited to affinity distribution, where you can get volumes and make it an easy sell. So we are investing a lot at the moment in digital broker partnerships, where we can look at an affinity groups, where we can find a brand or a partner that has a large customer base where cyber or kidnap and ransom may be relevant, and we're saying, how do we sell these into a different distribution base? So we're definitely looking at distribution in terms of traditional brokers, absolutely the biggest part of our business into the future. Affinity groups, digital is a really exciting space. We had a meeting this morning with our digital team. We're starting to sell a few policies through these partnerships on WhatsApp. We sold our first cyber policy and our first classic car motor policy on WhatsApp this month. So
nice.
WhatsApp chats to sell cyber, it's an exciting new space. And again, it will take some time, but an exciting space to be investing in different forms of distribution. And then, of course, Africa, it's a whole different game there in our distribution partners and licenses in Africa.
Very nice.
You had mentioned before we get into the claims, just given the new focus and the excitement around digital distribution, makes me think about how you're building technology internally, how you're partnering with technology vendors. Like, how do you guys do that? I think there's we see very small MGAs spending a lot of time and money and resources on kind of rebuilding the wheel in some instances when there's great companies like Laura out there. But then in some cases, you need to build that specialty product on the technology side to integrate with a partner. How do you guys think about your technology initiatives? Are you doing a lot of partnerships with vendors? Are you building a lot of things internally? Is it a mix?
It's a mix, and I think our thinking at the moment is important to have a whole mix. So I think most MGAs typically have to start with more or less an off-the-shelf line of business system. I think that's the most important way to start. So we've started with a fairly traditional, line of business system. But what we've found is we've kept that system as the core, and we're building a whole technology stack around that system, and I think that's really important. I mean, I think when Peter first launched Laura, we had some interesting conversations. We probably weren't ready for that. And I think most small MGAs, we at this stage weren't ready for those sort of conversations. We probably are now ready to have some of those conversations. We're investing a lot in digital marketing and capability. But what we're doing is we're partnering, with a number of different systems. And I think the key to the future now is having that core strong line of business, but then finding different systems fit for purpose that can integrate to a line of business system with different APIs. So we're experimenting with Salesforce. We're experimenting with a number of different digital sort of quoting platforms, as well as different digital broking partners, and integrating through APIs into different systems. So we're now looking at the whole spectrum. We're starting to explore, what's possible with AI, and that's a whole different technology stack as well. So we really are looking at the whole segment, and our view is that there's not one system. You have to build a suite of different systems fit for purpose and integrate them through APIs. But that has been a bit of a journey for us, in our business.
We could go on and on about that. I'm sure. Dylan, I do want to give you some claims time here, though.
I appreciate it so much. Because this one will be a little different than normal because I can't really talk to the regulatory handling of claims in South Africa or in Africa in general. So I don't know anything about it, but I'd love to know how claims is making a difference in your bottom line. What is it that is, because I'm assuming you have access to third-party administrators that are handling claims for you as well. I'm assuming that some capacity providers would be interested in handling the claims within their own internal claims departments. So why make the choice to handle the claims yourself, and how has that impacted your bottom line?
So absolutely. So for us, claims is a fundamental, and claims we see as our shop window. And I think that's a mistake that many MGAs make, is they focus on the underwriting, the distribution, building a business, and leave the claims considerations to the end. And I think one of the other successes of our business is the expertise and the service in our claims team. And we participate in a lot of these broker surveys. And the claims team comes out number one across all of our competitors and even all of the insurers in the recent surveys that we've done. And that is a big differentiator. Once you get to that stage where the brokers are saying, do business with iTOO because their claim service is where your business really starts to grow. So we've invested ourselves. We've got a claims team of about 20 people, in-house claims team. And every line of business that we have, we make sure that we have a specialist expert that really understands cyber, PI, medical malpractice, GL. We have an expert that understands those claims. Some of them do 2 or 3 lines, but they are expert in claims. And for us, it's really important to have the mandate and control of all of our claims decisions. And obviously, when you start the line, there's a negotiation with the reinsurers or the insurance partner that we have. But for most of our business now, it's fundamental for us to have full claims control and full ability to settle with mandate to settle up to our underwriting limits as well. And that, I think, has been a really big differentiator. We've seen a lot of MGAs that are trading and they fall short when they have a big claim, and they can't sit in front of a broker or a customer and negotiate and settle the claim. And I think that's a really important factor for us. So we don't outsource any of our claims. We have full mandate in our claims, and it's really important for us to control the whole claims process, from appointing loss adjusters, attorneys and specialists, making the final decision on claims, and making sure that the service and that whole chain of the claim is handled, the way we want to. And claims can get difficult, and then we're really open to sit down with broker and client and negotiate and discuss face to face and make decisions if we need to over the table. And that's been a big differentiator for us, is our claims service and claims expertise.
Well, Justin, I'm going to play that on loop for everyone to hear for the rest of time. So thank you so much for that. There's nothing else to add to that. But I would ask, how have you involved your claims team in when you're developing a product to ensure that the outcome is going to be something that is better? For example, I'm always looking for ways to incorporate understanding that the claims process can be easier based on the way that I write my policy, right? Or that we can create less friction with our insureds, our policyholders, when we design it into our product, so that when the claims do hit, they're easier to handle or digest. So is there any involvement with your claims team with the product development team?
Absolutely. So we have a very well-established product development process where the expert or the underwriter would get it signed off by our chief underwriting officer, legal, obviously, and our claims team play a big role in signing off all new products that we develop, or all new product evolutions. I think that's really important to say that claims are involved upfront in all new product development. We also have a monthly complex claims forum where we look at all claims that we reject, any ex gratia requests, and all the big complex claims. We have a claims forum that is a combination of claims and underwriters. And through that process, even myself, I sit in every single claims forum where we reject every claim as the CEO. And we have a lot of learnings out of that forum. So I think what's also important is even though claims are involved in the beginning of designing a product, there's an ongoing feedback loop where our claims team are picking up trends from what's happening in claims. And there's a continuous loop and feedback to the underwriting team where we're constantly evolving and developing our products to make them more clear, to look at why we're rejecting claims, was it unclear policy wordings of products, or what are the concerning trends that we have and how do we adapt our products to cater and deal with these trends. So claims is fully a part of the process in our business. And I think that's been one of the secrets to our success, is a really strong and involved claims team in all aspects of our business.
Well, Justin, you just defined good faith claims handling, and so I appreciate it, and well done.
Dylan, I have a quick question for you, Dylan, on the back of that, because our audience here listening, setting up MGAs, one of the negotiating points they have with capacity and reinsurers is claims handling, and there's various claims clauses that goes into this contract. We know about claims control, claims cooperation. What do those mean in practice, and what should people be asking for and looking at when they're negotiating these things with capacity?
Yeah, so iTOO and Justin are certainly have kind of a different situation. They've started in a way that's a little different than where you see most U.S.-based MGAs. Most U.S.-based MGAs are going the traditional venture capital path. Beg for money, beg for capacity, and that puts them in a position, because it's so expensive, as Justin has brought up a couple of times, to develop your MGA. It's very difficult to also then have a whole nother department where you're handling things internally. And so obviously there are great examples of companies who are doing it well. Coterie certainly is in the US. They've raised a lot of money. I believe it's around $102 million the last time I checked. That gives you the kind of funds necessary to create a claims department, but most MGAs can't do that. So what I suggest to most in the US is that they, of course, bring in an expert to help them find the right TPA and to manage that TPA. There are quite a few TPAs that I trust very well, but every single claims adjuster has an ugly file, and making sure that you're in those files, making sure that you're auditing those files, making sure that the customer experience is what you want out of it. That's still the job of the executives of the MGA, even if they don't know about it. So, I preach for fractional head of claims to assist them with that process. A team to help audit those claims. And that can be a lot cheaper alternative than actually having a dedicated full-time person who's just handling claims and managing that TPA for them. I think that's, unless you have a huge amount of money. If you start up and this is your fourth startup and you've sold a couple billion-dollar companies and money's not an issue now for your MGA, then start handling your claims immediately. I'd say in the U.S. if you can, because again, that control over it, what Justin described, that being able to certainly make sure that your brokers are selling that product with pride. They know that the claims process is going to be solid, that it's going to be a fair adjudication of the claim. That's a big deal. That is your name on every single policy, and every single claim is where that rubber meets the road. That's that point where you have to say, we're proud of what we did here. We even if there's a coverage denial, you should be able to say, this is a clear coverage denial. This is not a gotcha. This is outside the scope of what this policy intended, and we all agreed at the beginning, and that's where we ended up now. So that's the approach I would take.
something to aspire for MGAs as they grow as well, to have more and more control over that aspect of their business, just as Justin and iTOO do. Justin,
I would add to that, Peter, just that it is a journey. We didn't start where we are now.
Yeah.
We start out with, we do fundamentally believe in, as we employ underwriting experts, we employ and grow claims experts as well. And you need to give your insurance partners or reinsurers confidence that your claim expert can do the job. We negotiate for claims cooperation initially, and over time we push very strongly to get claims control and full mandate. And also because we've got our own capital at risk in the business, our reinsurers are now comfortable over a number of years that we have full mandate and control in almost all of our claims.
Yeah, maybe another good reason for partnering with you, Justin, because I think there's a lot of capacity out there. It's changing, but when I started my MGA, without having Dylan, the god of claims and thunder come in and help out, like claims is always an afterthought, and they really wanted to place it within, it was what it was. It wasn't poorly run. It was a internal department of the carrier that had many other roles, was overworked, and was not the claims experience that we wanted to give. And so I think having that to hold out as another reason to work with iTOO, like we take this very seriously. We've built this up. We've learned from past mistakes, and we want this to be the kind of the shining example of how claims should be run. That's great access for a young MGA to have. They cannot get that in many other places. So kudos for you guys for taking that approach.
Great.
Yeah. Well, I think we're going to get onto the big question soon about legacy, Justin, and some of those thoughts. Before we do that, I'd love to ask you a little bit on a lighter topic. So you do some great events with brokers. The iTOO brand is so well known throughout South Africa and beyond. I remember you telling me a little story about you had some arrangements with brokers where if certain targets were met, there might be a bit of a barbecue from yourself involving some kind of unique element. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Oh boy.
I think that was a long time ago, Peter. So I'm just trying to remember which of those unique elements. But we certainly have a lot of we have a lot of fun, and I think that's the one of the things that we've built a strong brand, and our brand is really built around being expert in our purpose, which is conquering risk and unleashing potentials. We've built a really strong brand that we really believe in, and I think a purpose-driven brand is such a powerful driver of growth for an MGA. But then behind the brand, I think we've built a really good culture, and we've developed values and behaviors, that we live every day. And I think we don't get it right all the time, but we really try and live those every day. So we have values such as being mavericks of progress. So in our culture, it's in our DNA to be a little bit maverick and do things differently. We say that we're expert achievers. We love to win. We love to compete. We love to be an expert. We love to be at the cutting edge of expertise. We're also caring catalysts, and we genuinely care about our team, our clients, making a difference in our country. And I think that's a great thing about an MGA, is to actually use insurance as a vehicle to make a difference and change the world. We like to say that behind every great thinker is a great risk partner too. And we believe that the world is moved forward by great thinkers. And these great thinkers wouldn't exist if they didn't have a risk partner like iTOO. So we genuinely believe in the purpose of our brand and in moving the world forward. But then having said that, we also believe in having a lot of fun. You spend a lot of your time at work. Most of our employees spend 60-70% of their time at work, and you might as well have a little bit of fun doing it. I'm also a big believer in people do business with people they like. So we do everything with a lot of fun. And over the years, we've done a lot of really, really cool stuff. We just as craft gin was becoming famous, we did roadshows around the country with gin and hot dogs, and we had an amazing time with these amazing gin bars, probably the best gin bars you've ever seen. And it was just a great environment for our brokers to come and listen to some expert talks, but then back it up with a lot of fun. We've recently acquired a vintage Volkswagen minibus, and we've branded it out too. We drive it around the country, and we visit brokers, and we pop up with a wine bar or a champagne bar or just a morning coffee and a croissant. We do a lot of fun stuff like that. The next thing I'm trying to do is fire walking. I really want some of our teams and brokers to work on fire. but I can't get our chief risk officer and our marketing team to agree to that yet. But I think the point is we've just held an amazing unconference, which we called an unconference because it was everything that a traditional insurance conference is not. And we had about 600 people. We had 16 different speakers in 4 different venues. And of course, a great fun and a few drinks afterwards. And I think we really have tried actively to build a business and a brand where, I think what's important for me is how do people feel when they deal with iTOO? Our competitors can copy our policy wordings and our product. They can go and get the same systems that they've got. They can copy our pricing. You'll find the pricing in the market. But the one thing that we believe our competitors can't do, they can't copy our culture, and they can't copy the way that people feel when they deal with iTOO. And that's both internally, our employees, and our brokers and customers. So yes, we've done a lot of crazy and fun things. We promised a lot of favors to our brokers. I've been known to get into a red iTOO Speedo, which is a very small piece of swimming costume underwear, and offer lap dances to ladies and all sorts of promises, anything to have a little bit of fun and a bit of good South African word is called gees, and that's really energy and fun. And we spend a lot of time and effort in doing that. And, I think we spend 90% of our time on really being experts, watching expenses, controlling budgets. But that extra 10% where you can be a bit crazy outside of the governance, the expertise, the serious part of our business, there's room to have a lot of fun. And that fun creates all the difference in experience. And I have to say, I feel really proud when people leave an iTOO encounter or engagement feeling really good about us and about themselves. And that's the thing that I think people can't copy.
Yeah, I love that,
Peter.
Justin.
I think we need to get a trip scheduled down to South Africa. It sounds
Do a
like.
live episode there, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
Or
you should.
I might start my own brokerage
a
down
formal
there.
invite. Why don't you guys come out to South Africa
We
we
will be down.
can start with the fire walking. We're going to test our liability insurance and indemnity period. Let's do fire walking. Come to South Africa. Let's do a show where we walk on fire.
Yeah.
And then let's do some fun stuff, and maybe we give you a bit of exposure to some of the great stuff that iTOO's done. Some of the stuff that I'm most proud of. I think it's the stuff that people will remember. I said at our conference the other day, people will remember they might not remember what you say, they might not remember what you do, but they'll always remember, how you made them feel. So come out to South African experiences.
We're gonna take the age of the MGA on the road. I love this idea. And if that doesn't work, Justin, I might be starting my own brokerage in South Africa just so I can be a partner of your guys's.
Just to work with iTOO, absolutely.
Yeah.
Great stuff.
Justin, so how can people get in touch with you, with your company? Where do you want them to go? Obviously, we want anyone who's looking to do anything innovative in wider Africa to contact iTOO. But also, I think, like you mentioned, you've got this thing, you got your cell in Guernsey, you've got aspirations in Europe and other aspects. So really, any entrepreneurs looking to do things a little bit differently in the insurance space, Justin's a great person to connect with and reach out to. So how do people do that, Justin?
So there are lots of ways to get hold of me. I'm on LinkedIn. So if you look at Justin Naylor under LinkedIn, welcome to get in touch with me and send me a message there. That's probably a good way if it's just a personal quick message in chat. iTOO's website is www.itoo.co.za. Have a look at our website. My contact details are on the website. My email address, let me throw it out there, is Justin with a double N, so justin@itoo.co.za. Send me an email and I will respond myself personally. I'd love to hear from you. I'm also on Instagram, Facebook. So be in touch, and I'd really love to connect. And I think one of the things that we should do as entrepreneurs and MGAs is connect. And even if there's not business to do, I'd love to have a conversation and share ideas, because one of the things that I've learned is, I can learn as much from everyone out there as they can maybe learn from our journey. So I'd really genuinely love to connect with anyone that is interested to talk to me. And if you happen to be in South Africa, Peter will know I love a barbecue and a glass of wine. So if you're around in South Africa anytime or in South Africa, come and have an informal conversation over a barbecue and a glass of wine.
Yeah,
That would
maybe
be lovely.
hit the golf course as well.
Golf
Bring
as
yourself
well.
down.
Peter's played
Yeah.
golf with me. I'm a very bad golfer, but
Me too.
love getting out there for a game of
You've
golf.
not seen
Every day.
you want to feel good about yourself, Justin? Play with me. That's that'll be your highlight of me coming down.
Good stuff.
Yeah, great stuff. Well, look, you've spoken about a lot of this stuff in amazing, passion and detail, and it's been so much for our audience to take away from this. I think it's been one of the most varied episodes, going from a journey of startup MGA to where you are now, the true leaders in your space, in your country, which is incredible. So congratulations to you and all the team, and for coming on and telling your story. But as Dylan and Doug know, we love to end these episodes with a short segment on legacy, what that means to you, how you want this experience, your role, your time on this earth, if we go so grandiose, to be remembered.
So, I mean, I think there are different ways to look at legacy for me, and certainly I've been 7 years as the CEO of iTOO. Actually, this week I was 7 years as the CEO of iTOO. iTOO's been around for 10 years. So I was part of the whole team that was involved in founding, but I've formerly been the CEO of 7 years. And as I said earlier, we've done a 10x in growth in 10 years. So certainly my legacy is thinking, what does the next 10 years, look like? And certainly for me personally, from a business perspective, I'd love to build iTOO for many, many years in the come. And we're thinking big. We're thinking the number one specialty in insurance. We're thinking the number one in specialty insurance in Africa. That's really our dream and our vision, and where we're aiming for as a business. In terms of me, I think I'd love you to remember a connection or an experience, and how I made you feel at some point in our engagement. And that's really all that matters to me. At the end of the day, it's about the memories and the experiences and the great times that we've had in building this amazing business as iTOO.
Love it. Beautiful.
Amazing.
Fantastic.
Justin, thank you so much for taking an hour and hanging out with us, educating us, and for your future hospitality, which we will be engaging in.
Perfect. Thank you so much, and thank you so much for having me on the show. I hope I've done a good enough job, and look forward to hearing some of the feedback about it.
Thanks so much,
Absolutely.
Justin.
Thanks,
Take care.
Justin.
Amazing.
Have a great afternoon. Bye-bye.
Cheers, guys. You
Bye.
too.
Peter, you keep wanting up in us on guests. Like, it just gets better and better. What are you doing? Like, what do you have over these people that you're able to bring them on to our show?
Yeah, we've had some great guests and different stories, right? Different stages of the journey and the story, which is really interesting to get into. But yeah, a lot of fun. I mean, I think it comes across there. They're the kind of company, the kind of guy that people want to talk to, want to be around, and that's half the battle, isn't it? And then you get the people, the experts around, as Justin talked about, that build their products out from that. But without that culture, that environment that he spoke about, the true differentiator for them as a business, that's probably the difference between success and failure.
I love that concept of working with people that you like. You have a couple buddies like CJ, friend of the show, Amit, who we're going to have on, friend of the show, how they talk about people they have to work with versus that they want to work with. And Emmett even has this way. He's like, you'll be able to tell who I like and who I have to work with. But like Justin's concept of making sure he's putting good people around him, building those partnerships, those friendships, really, right? Looking at it in that way. And I think insurance is so relationship based. That it's a really easy space to do it in, but I think there's a right way to do it and there's a wrong way to do it, and Justin's definitely doing it the right way. Yeah,
quite impressive. Though, like you said, we do have some incredible other guests coming. I'm very excited about Amit. He is so fun and energetic, and I think that's probably one of the. I think that's a key driver to success, is being incredibly interested in what you're doing, so engaged with it, really enjoying it, and having that passion. And obviously, well, we just saw that. That's evident. I think we've got a lot of more of those guests coming up soon. Very soon.
We do. Amit should come down to South Africa with us. He's on the
we'll invite everyone. We'll invite everyone from
true.
the Age of the MGA series. Really, it's
come down, do a broad show.
Is that the deal?
that verbal contract. I
like
take
it.
that.
Peter,
Yeah.
Peter, what's that show? It's like a movie series in the UK called The Trip, with Rob, can't remember his name, and then I think another comedian also. Can't remember. It's a great story.
I
for
do
me.
know the
Can't
one you're
remember.
talking about. Yeah,
Yeah, that's what we're gonna have this live version going around different parts of the African
With
continent.
Rob
Justin
Brydon and Steve
Rob
Coogan.
Brydon, Steve. That's it. Yep, Steve Coogan and Rob Brydon. Great movie. And guys, Steve and Rob, you guys want to send us a little money for the show?
Yeah, we just plugged your show for free.
Do our daily plugging. That's a good important thing. Yeah. Anybody in Japan want to pick this up too? Happy to go.
Could use a trip out to Japan. Yeah. Do some skiing.
Australia maybe. Yeah.
We should start picking companies that we want to
destination countries.
Yeah.
We're going to do destination podcasting. That sounds lovely.
Yeah. All right, guys. Hey, another great episode. Dylan, we're going to take a little break here because you got a trip coming up. You're going to be leaving us for a bit. You're going to Costa Rica. Yeah. Maybe you want to
shout out to Tony Cañas.
Tony Cañas. Oh yeah.
Tony
is he Costa Rican? Yeah.
Yes, he's given me some great tips in the past.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. Good podcast as well.
Good podcast. Yeah, another good podcast out there. Much more, many more episodes than us. Probably
a few more
reach.
A bit more prolific than us.
Yeah. Dylan, you need a thing. You need like Tony's does. I don't think he does it on the show, but he lit my face on fire.
At ITC. That was impressive. By the way, if anyone wants to have a great end to their ITC, we'll reach out. We'll give you some information about a great way to end your ITC. Possibly Tony catching Doug's face on fire.
Yeah,
it's
our magic act we do together. I'm his scantily clad.
No, definitely not going that direction. But he was fully clothed, and we have great pictures of Doug's face nearly on fire.
Nearly on fire. Yeah. I do make a great magic assistant. Maybe I'll look into that I got my brokerage in South Africa. Got the tourist thing, but maybe magician assistant is next on the list.
So Doug, are we thinking toga for me, doing the god of thunder and flames?
I think so. Yeah, that's a nice lightning bolt pen.
I like it. All right, I'll work on that.
Season finale.
Yep. There we go. Guys, have a great couple of weeks. We got some more episodes coming up soon, but thank you everyone for listening, and can't wait to chat with you all again soon.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.